Good day, everyone. Now we will continue our discussion about signs and symptoms of learning disabilities and disorders. In this topic, we will be discussing the continuation of what Miss Cyril Jade discussed. So let's start. Before we proceed to our discussion, I will present to you our objectives for this day. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to: letter A, know the other types of learning disabilities and disorders. Letter B, understand their signs and symptoms. And letter C, identify and enumerate the specialists that can help child with learning disabilities. Other types of learning disabilities and disorders. Reading and writing and math aren't the only skills impacted by learning disorders. Other types of learning disabilities involve difficulties with motor skills, such as movement and coordination, and also understanding spoken language, distinguishing between sounds and interpreting visual information. So we have here, first, we have the learning disabilities in motor skills, or also known dyspraxia. Motor difficulty refers to problems with movement and coordination, whether it is with the fine motor skills, which is cutting and writing, or gross motor skills such as running and jumping. A motor disability is sometimes referred to as an output activity. It means that it relates to the output of the information of the brain. Remember, the signs that your child might have a motor coordination disability include problems with physical abilities that require hand-eye coordination, like holding a pencil or buttoning a shirt. Next, we have learning disabilities in language, or also known the aphasia or dysphasia. Language and communication learning disabilities involve the ability to understand or produce spoken language. Take note that signs of language-based learning disorder involve problems with verbal language skills, such as the ability to retell a story and the fluency of speech, as well as the ability to understand the meaning of words, parts of speech, direction, and etc. Aside from learning disabilities in motor skills and in language, we have also the auditory and visual processing problems, which is the importance of the ears and eyes. The eyes and the ears are the primary means of delivering information to the brain, a process sometimes called input. If either the eyes or the ears aren't working properly, learning can suffer. We have the auditory processing disorder. It is an inability to distinguish subtle differences in sound, or hearing sounds at the wrong speed make it difficult to sound out words and understand the basic concept of reading and writing. In other words, auditory processing disorder is an inability of a child to understand and distinguish different sounds that may affect their learning. Next, we have the visual processing disorder. Visual processing disorder is a problems in visual perceptions, include missing subtle differences in shapes, reversing letters or numbers, skipping words, skipping lines, misperceiving depth or distance, or having problems with eye-hand coordination. In other words, visual processing disorder is an inability of a child to understand what they see that may affect their learning. We have also other disorders that make learning difficult. Difficulty in school doesn't always stem from a learning disability. Anxiety, depression, stressful events, emotional trauma, and other conditions affecting concentration make learning more of a challenge. One of these is the ADHD, or the Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. It is not considered a learning disability, but it can certainly disrupt learning. Children with the ADHD often have problems sitting still, staying focused, following instructions, and staying organized and completing homework. The next one is autism. Difficulty of mastering a certain academic skills that can stem from pervasive developmental disorders such as autism. Children with autism spectrum disorders may have trouble communicating, reading body language, learning basic skills, making friends, and making eye contact. Those are the other disorders that make learning difficult. Hope for learning disabilities. The brain can change. Science has made a great strides in understanding the inner workings of the brain. And one important discovery that brings new hope for learning disabilities and disorders is the called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity refers to the brain's natural lifelong ability to change. Throughout life, the brain is able to form new connections and generate new brain cells in response to experience and learning. This knowledge has led to groundbreaking new treatments for learning disabilities that take advantage of the brain's ability to change. Innovative programs such as the Aerosmith program use strategic brain exercises to identify the strengthened weak cognitive areas. For example, for children who have difficulty distinguishing between different sounds in a word, there are new computer-based learning programs that slow down the sounds so that children can understand them and gradually increase their speed of comprehension. These discoveries about neuroplasticity provide hope to all students who have learning disorders, and further research may lead to additional new treatments that target the actual causes of learning disabilities. The diagnosis and testing process for learning disabilities. Diagnosing a learning disability is a process. It involves testing, history taking, and observation by a trained specialist. Finding a reputable referral is important. Types of specialists who may be able to test for and diagnose learning disabilities include: first, we have the clinical psychologist, school psychologist, child psychiatrist, educational psychologist, developmental psychologist, neuropsychologist, psychometrist, occupational therapist to test sensory disorders that can lead to learning problems. And the last one is we have also the speech and language therapist. These are the specialists that may help to test and diagnose a children who have learning disabilities. Getting help for children with learning disabilities. When it comes to learning disabilities, it is not always easy to know what to do and where to find help. Turning to specialists who can pinpoint and diagnose the problem is of course important. As I mentioned earlier in the previous slide, we have the different types of specialists who can test and diagnose learning disabilities. You can also do all of these. First, learn the specific about your child's learning disability. Second, research treatment services and new theories. Third, pursue treatment and services at home. And the last one, nurture your child's strength. And that's it for today's discussion. Thank you for watching and listening. I hope you understand our topic for today. May Allah bless us all.